Hello everybody, it's Paulie here. I have a subject that not many people talk about in recovery. And that is why exercise is an important modality for recovery. But first, I want to help build a little trust with you. And so I'm going to give you my fitness and health bio. I've been passionately researching and participating and working in the health and fitness industry for like 3 decades. I have knowledge in the areas of mind-body connection, muscle strength, flexibility, cardiovascular health, nutrition, food, and other holistic endeavors. I have been the director of health and wellness at 2 drug and alcohol treatment centers. My personal pursuits myself have been bodybuilding and powerlifting and CrossFit. I do some yoga, just a little bit, and I love doing 10K runs. I've been helping people for decades get fit and healthy. I've won contests, I've trained world-class athletes, and I've done fitness and health seminars across Canada. I've also spoken at recovery conventions about the importance of health and fitness in recovery, and I'm considered an expert in the industry. I am 54, and I have been training myself for 34 years. So first, we need to look at what happens in our brain when we exercise. Because after all, addiction hijacks our brain. And this is the most beautiful part that I'm going to talk about. Science has shown that at the 20-minute mark of intense exercise, the brain releases feel-good chemicals, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, and this wonderful substance called BDNF. It's basically science. No matter what kind of exercise we do, it can be running, it can be weights, martial arts, CrossFit, yoga. As long as it's intense enough for 20 minutes, we will get this release of feel-good chemicals in the brain. And we'll feel good. So I'm going to now talk about individually these feel-good chemicals and why they're so important. So the first one is called BDNF, and it's exciting. It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And it's a neurotransmitter that's found to be released in the brain in response to exercise. This 20-minute mark, this BDNF is released. But here's what happens. Let me show you this. Molecules and protein at 20 minutes, they start spinning. And then they start crashing together. This is called neurogenesis, this crashing together. And you actually create new neurons in your brain at 20 minutes of exercise. Every single time you exercise, it literally changes who we are. The new neurons are created in what is called the hippocampus of our brain. And now that's the center for learning and memory. So not only does it enhance our memory and learning, now here's the good part, it helps us with anxiety disorders, depressions, and especially us with addictions. You know, when you have that, what's known as the runner's high, you know, people that run, they talk about this feel-good feeling. It's mostly this substance called BDNF. Now we're going to move on to the next feel-good chemical called dopamine. Every single addiction known to man affects the dopamine levels in one way or another. It is the big player. The dopamine is fired off in the pleasure center of the brain, which produces the highs and the lows and the crashes. This lack of dopamine causes what is known as the gray zone, where we don't feel good or bad, just lots of gray period. The gray period could last up to 2 years with cocaine and even longer with meth and ecstasy. I've seen the research with meth and ecstasy of 7, 8 years. It's no wonder that these addictions have such a high rate of relapse. Now here's the good part. The fastest way to get the pleasure center firing off dopamine again is high intense exercise, so that we don't have to wait for this gray period to go away. Exercise will help the brain remember to fire off dopamine again. Next is the endorphins. The endorphins are released in the human body when we have pain. Now, when we exercise, we're creating pain. So the endorphins are released. Endorphins control our emotions. And so exercise can help us with our emotional health by lowering the stress and supporting our immune system. Also, and this is an extra benefit, research has shown that endorphins lowers our likelihood of developing cancer. And then the final one is serotonin. I'm sure we've all heard of the antidepressant substance called SSRI, selective serotonin uptake inhibitors. Basically, what they do is they increase the serotonin. You see, high levels of serotonin are associated with good mood, while low levels are associated with depression. Now, here's the good news. When we exercise, we release serotonin naturally. And so that we are going to be fantastic if you have depression or an addiction. It's also important to mention to you that sunlight in food is also very important for the release of serotonin. And serotonin has a lot to do not just with our mood, but with our appetite and our sleep and waking cycle. So there is why exercise is so important for healing our brain. Next, I want to talk about the mind-body connection. So I call this the exercise-breathing connection is the first one. Exercise naturally forces us to concentrate on our breath because we must breathe to do the exercise. So exercise literally draws us out of the head into the body through breath. And it's why I call all exercise an action meditation. Secondly, when we move our physical bodies, we're able to move that negative energy that could be blocking us. That pain within our body is an imbalance and the blockage of energy, and exercise is a fantastic way to unblock it. Next, exercise builds what I call the tough mindset. And here's what I mean. We learn to deal with pain throughout our workout, not trying to avoid it, but to work through it. It creates awareness inside our bodies, which is vital to recovery. Many people who exercise, they have a problem. Many people in recovery have a problem to sit still. But in a short time of exercise, they're able to concentrate, they're able to think clearer and function better. It is because their mind has been freed, quiet down to a point where they're able to relax. This reduces the anxiety and stress. And you know, in 30 years of training people and myself, I've never heard anyone say that they didn't feel better after a workout. They always feel better. You know, today I exercise because without my health, I really don't have much. Secondly, the mind, body, and spirit are one. They're completely connected. So people don't realize that when you work on exercise, you're actually working on the other because it's connected holistically. Thirdly, I'm able to move my negative energy that blocks my connection to source, it, God, love, creator, whatever you call it. And finally, it's great for relapse prevention. And you know what? I feel great. I'm 54 and I feel great. So make a decision to add exercise to your recovery program. Trust me, you will not regret it. Get rid of all your excuses like no time, no money, no experience. It's all about being resourceful. So, namaste. Have a great day.